There's something really beautiful to what you embody, and I'm also hearing even certainly from our relationship, but absolutely from this conversation, that has not been an easy path, right? That there's been pain involved in it, and so just acknowledging that as well.
Yeah, there's this beautiful story I tell about a moment with my father.
Mm-hmm.
We're standing on a deck he built when I was little. He's fixing the deck. I live in the house now, and it's a beautiful day. And I was really depressed because the Pulse nightclub shooting had just happened. And it was devastating in
Yeah,
many ways. I know mostly for the Latinx community was the most directly
yeah,
impacted. But of course, then there's this national outpouring of people telling their stories of what it meant to them to dance at a queer nightclub and how impactful it was that that space had been broken like that. People had been murdered. And my father asked me, how are you doing with all that? And it was the first time he'd asked me really anything about my queerness. And I was honest and I said, I'm not doing very well. I'm very sad. And we talked for a few minutes and I'm reducing the story a bit,
yeah.
but at some point he said, I'm really glad that I was always there for you. And when you have those moments when you just have to feel your feet on the ground and this movie starts playing of all of these different moments where he was not there for me.
Yeah.
And I had a choice in that moment. I had a choice. It's like, what am I going to do? Am I going to take this movie and project it onto him? What am I going to do right now? So I decided to ask a question. And I said, Dad, do you remember what you said to me when I told you that I had a girlfriend the first time? And he said, yeah, I told you that you can love whoever you want. And I said, do you remember what else you said? He's just looking at me. He's like wanting to know. And I said, you said, I'm not going to march in a parade, but you can love whoever you want. And in that moment, my heart
Wow.
broke.
Yeah.
Because here I have my father saying, you can go off and love whoever you want, but I'm not going to stand up for you.
Right.
And in the present, in that moment, when we were standing there, this is where he blew my mind. This is actually, I think, one of the moments where I saw him most as the man he is, the pure, strong man that he is his eyes filled up with tears and he embraced me. And he said, I'm sorry that I was so ignorant and I wasn't there for you. He said, I don't remember that happening, but it doesn't matter. And I love you. And you are my teacher.
Wow.
And he held me. And it was over. It was over.
Wow. Thank you. Very, very, very beautiful, very moving, and very full of truth. Receiving that and honoring him, right? And honoring you for speaking your truth, and it connects to like the other question that was emergent, and let me kind of build on it a little bit, right? Because part of what I see here is you had the option of holding on to the resentment, which is what I think it's become justifiable in our spaces. There's a political ideology that says enough wrong has been done to you, which you can now therefore be angry, resentful, and rock your pain. And you don't do that. You didn't do that there. In what I see in that and early parts of your story that you shared today is this stance of radical responsibility. What is in my hands? What can I impact in a world that is decidedly unfair and even dangerous? What is in my hands? I'm gonna hold that for a second and then say something else to invite your thoughts on the development of consciousness and culture, which is which is, I think, why we're in community, because we love each other and because we're committed to the same thing. Um, so it seems to me like this stance of radical responsibility, this commitment to bring ourselves back into coherence so that we can move forward with sovereignty is integral to this carving out an emancipated, a more liberated consciousness from which we can carve a different culture that will allow us to meet the tragedy of the moment, of this climate moment, right? And so, how are you doing all of it, right? Like, what is the wisdom and the practice that you bring into it? What can you teach us about how to be now?
Yeah. This is a lot of what I work on with people at Infinite Growth. Usually, where I start is, where are you spending your time? Because where we think we're spending our time in our minds is actually not where we're spending our time. Where are you actually spending your time? What are you actually doing with your time? And usually through that activity, people can discover spaciousness, discover like, what are the parts of my life that are running over in a bad way? What are the parts of my life where I don't have anything growing? What are the parts of my life? What are the parts of myself that I don't even know? How can I start to make some little inroads there? And I think it's really helpful to just do some assessment like that to kind of get a map. Like, oh, actually, I really need to grow in my education right now. Or, oh, actually, I really need to grow in my spiritual practice right now. Or, wow, I really need to, my family who I was born to, they don't make my heart sing. I actually need to create a family right now. You know, maybe a non-traditional family of, you know, who are your uncles, who are your cousins, who are your brothers and sisters, who you gather with. I see a lot of people creating family structures for themselves so that where they can be realized. And so, you know, it's taking a look at yourself, taking a look at how you spend your 24 hours, taking a look at who's in your life, because, you know, that matters a lot. Who's in your life? You know, to never share your greatest, most tender ideas with people who are going to shoot them down. If you have a seedling, you take care of it. But what if you don't know how to take care of it?
Right.
You need to be around people who are like, oh, that's a seedling. You're good at this. Oh, that's a little seedling. Here's what we're going to do to make that little seedling grow. I see you do that a lot with people. What's the smallest, little, tenderest idea that we have here? And how can we just watch it grow and see what it does? So you need communities like that, like what you've created with evolutionary leadership, you know. And in addition, I do a lot of work on myself.
Yes, you do.
I meditate. I go away for 10 days and say nothing. I meditate at home in the morning when my ego allows for it. I figure out joyful ways to move my body. I have close, loving relationships. I've tried all different types of therapy and have a journal practice and a lot of really, really dear relationships where I am expected to show up as me. I'm expected to be truthful. And I get offered that same thing in return. People show me themselves and they share. And I think my friendships are one of the best cohering interactions that I have, or with my friends who I can call when I'm crying. You know, like you, I can call you when I'm crying. I can call you when I'm laughing. But, you know, having people who, and of course, when I was growing up, I mean, I had my parents, I especially had my mother, you know, was able to, when I had a block, she was able to see, you need to go there, I'm going to help you.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. That's, I think, very, very useful and helpful.